thought I might get a little bit of knitting done. If I could spend 10 minutes knitting, what do you reckon? Just think about grandparents. What comes to mind when you think about grandparents? Do you think about little old ladies sitting and knitting, which I'm doing right now? I'm not sure I call myself old. Do you think about the little lady with the grey hair in a bun, the long skirt like in Sylvester and Tweety Pie? Some of you might know Sylvester and Tweety Pie. Or do you think about Grandpa sitting in the rocking chair watching TV, but he's snoozing and the jaws dropped a little and the teeth have gone slightly askew? Is that what you think of as a grandparent? Well, I'm here to tell you the grandparents are much, much more. I'm a grandparent, and I'm a grandparent to 6 grandchildren. And before I had grandchildren, I really didn't give it much thought. I thought, oh yeah, people get really googly about their grandchildren when they're born, and really was outside my ken. But today I want to share with you the gifts that grandparents bring to grandchildren's lives. I'm going to start off by telling you a story about a grandmother from my past. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the way that grandparents are anchors in their grandchildren's lives. And then thirdly, I'll talk about the way that a grandparent can be a bridge from the past to the future and what it means for their grandchildren. My father came from Albania, and as you know, I'm an immigrant child. And he wasn't brought up by his parents. He was orphaned when he was quite young. Had 4 brothers. He was, one of 4 brothers. And he tells us the story of how he loved soccer. And his grandmother, who was rearing them, had made him a soccer ball out of rags. So that kind of tells you something about their situation. So she made the soccer ball out of rags and he played with it. And that simple act of a grandmother changed the course of his life. He became a national soccer player, and he's listed as one of the top 10 soccer players of Albania. And but some consider like the Pele of Albania. He's still well known today, even though he's passed away. Now you think about this grandmother, 4 boys, and the noise, the carry-on, but there was that sacrificial act of love to make the soccer ball for him. So she was an anchor in his life, and so too are we anchors today. We have an intergenerational home. 5 nights a fortnight I have 4 grandchildren living with me and my husband and our son. So it's a very interesting and entertaining place at times. But what we try to do is to live very purposefully, to share our values, to do things like cooking, a lost art in some homes. So we do cooking together, reading stories, and telling stories about their dad. They love the stories. And one story that comes to mind, it sticks in my mind because I remember going quite mental at the time. I arrive home from work and there's my son with his mates on the balcony. We live on a hill overlooking a valley. And there he is, he's firing a potato cannon. As you probably work out, the language was fairly choice, don't you do it again. And the grandchildren love it. Dad, did you really do that? And there's all sorts of other stories that I've been told not to tell you tonight. But Dad, did you really do that? And they love it. My little grandson, he says he loves coming to Grandma's place because what happens there is he gets pancakes. And the story goes like this. My granddaughter, who's 8, loves to cook. So together we make, Grandma, make pancakes. So Em and I make the pancakes, and then Cam eats them and loves them. And he says that's one of the things he loves about coming to our house. He also remembers as a little boy Grandma sitting on a canoe This canoe's on the balcony. It's an upturned chair, and he and I are sitting in these upturned chairs. I've got the broom handle, and we're paddling away, going to some far off climb, just roaring and laughing and carrying on. So what those little things do in our grandchildren's lives is to build memories, building positive memories, memories that they look back on and say, well, Grandma, do you remember the time Grandma went on California screaming? And she did scream. It's true, I did scream. Those little things are building memories day by day, and we try and do it very purposefully in our home. It says, I read a quote from an author called Phyllis Thoreau, and she says, in the world you need someone who will take you for you are and love you unconditionally in spite of the evidence. And that person is a grandma. And I think that that's very true, because we do, you know, I have just that deep sense of joy and love for my grandchildren, and they are very, very different. And the other thing that they do is that they love you unconditionally. And it's really a very special thing to have that unconditional love of another person who has no agenda for you. It's a really beautiful thing. So we're about building memories. The other thing that grandparents do is to build a bridge from the past through to the future. And again, it's about memories. And I tell stories about what has happened in our family. And we have many varied stories, but this is one that I love. I sent my husband to go and buy some groceries Saturday afternoon, you know. Can you go and get this list? I hate shopping for groceries, and he loves it. So he goes, I'm waiting. He arrives home and he calls out to the two boys, come and give me a hand. And I'm thinking, my gosh, how many groceries has he bought? It can't be, you know, it can't take 3 people to bring the groceries in. I get tossed something and I look at it, and it's a long rectangular thing. Next thing comes this gigantic television. Well, it was gigantic at the time. Now it's, you know, just very ordinary, but it was quite a gigantic television. I said, well, yeah, I'm not interested in the television. Where are the groceries? Well, I didn't get them. I didn't have time, but this is a real bargain. So then we had the TV, and we had a make-do dinner that night. So we have stories in our family. You know, my parents escaped from their respective countries. There are stories about courage. There are stories about going against the grain, not doing what other people thought was right and necessary. They survived hardship. My husband's grandparents had the privations of the Depression, and all of those events have helped shape who they are, and in turn who we are. And they are values and beliefs and views about the universe that we can pass down to our grandchildren in a very purposeful way. So my call to you that are parents, and to you that are grandparents, and even aunts and uncles in this room, you have that gift to be able to impart to your grandchildren gifts of things that are of value, helping them to become resilient children, helping them to become people who have values, strong values that they have the courage to stick by and believe in, and also helping them to see that they are something much, much bigger than themselves, that they're part of a family. And they are very, very important things to have that sense of identity. And I believe that we grandparents can do it. Thank you. So I guess I better take my knitting.